Jonathan Moore. Jordan Bennett.
Eric Breedis.
And our group, we are doing restoration of natural areas, but we focused on the Little Duck Creek. And this graphic here shows Madisonville and then the light blue is Little Duck Creek. This is the Duck Creek and then Deerfield Creek. And where they overlap is where the creeks sort of come together and meet. And the Little Duck Creek is a natural resource for the community of Madisonville, but we identified different problems that kind of hinder it from reaching its full potential. And those include both the Little Duck Creek and the Duck Creek having little to no flow during the warm weather, and then during the rainy seasons, CSOs are the primary source of bacteria. And along with erosion, trash and pollution, and an overall lack of pedestrian access and public integration. This map here shows the branch of the Little Duck Creek that we decided to put our focus in. And all along, we really want to have a walking trail that goes all the way up and down. Also, public access, park benches, stone steps or some sort of natural steps that lead down to it, and overlooks. We have three basic focal points. The first being over near the Bramble Park area, and with that being a park and open space, we wanted to have a recreational field using recycled park benches to withstand the wear and tear and the running and jumping and playing of the kids. Educational piers just to give people an idea of the creek and make them aware that it does need to be taken care of. Also overlooks and bridges, whether it's a footbridge or something of that sort, to connect both private and public space. The second is over near Bancroft. It's more of a residential area, so we thought the look would be slightly different. We could differentiate that by using wrought iron benches, lampposts along the walkway, and just really wanting to coordinate with the existing residential uses that are there. The third area is over by Southern Avenue, another open space with soccer fields, and it's more deep in the woods, so we thought having some sort of gazebo that used like natural stone so it would just fit in better. We did get community input from Bob Medline and Michael George, who's a park naturalist, and they told us if it was possible to raise the water level and potentially have aquatic life. So, and other improvements, I mentioned earlier the CSOs, the Metropolitan Sewer District has a 1 million gallon storage facility in place, so that sort of helps. And then other improvements just include overall beautification, public access, erosion control, aquatic life, and potentially residential redevelopment to accent the creek. This can be made done with restoration, conservation, and strategic design to make Little Duck Creek a focal point and a vision of natural areas throughout Madisonville. This second board goes into a little bit more detail to stabilize the creek, starting with what is the most feasible and working all the way up to not necessarily something that can't happen, but it will take a lot of hard work and design to accomplish that.
One thing I'd like to say before we get into those the different ideas that we have depending on what we need to do. We talked, the last group talked about CSOs, overflow running into the creeks and that kind of thing. Obviously you're going to have bacterial problems and all kinds of clean water issues, especially with the EPA. One of the things we're looking at here, depending on how much flow we do have, because we have talked to a couple of people that have told us that the Little Duck Creek especially does not have much to no flow in the summer, the dry months and summer months. If we do have some sort of flow, we want to work on stabilizing the slopes of the creek and providing areas for people to get down to it, and also with that is making sure that it's water qualities and safe qualities so children can come and play and not have to get sick. So these are some of our ideas as to how we can do all that. Let Eric start. Right?
Our first idea was basically to do nothing, and that would basically allow the city of Madisonville to look at other options more detailed. Basically, with the do nothing approach, time and money would be saved basically from dealing with the logistics that would involve improving the creek. Basically, either hiring a contractor to cut the slope, do a repair and buffer. With that also would be basically the access points along the creek, where basically they could bring their equipment in to work on the creek, and that would, some impact that would have would either be would they have to clear some area so that they could get heavier bulk of equipment in, or would they have to scale back and use smaller tractor equipment to do that. This, however, would not fix areas along Brandon Park where basically there is a 3 to 5 foot drop off near the turnaround back. It's basically there's a railing, a metal railing with one chain basically blocking it off, but if some little kid that was unsupervised maybe for a couple minutes, he could easily fall down. Pretty bad. Next would be repairing buffer with a cut slope 2-to-1. Basically, this would stabilize the slope sides, and on that cut slope you would plant native plants basically to compact the soil and draw roots so it's stable and you wouldn't have a slope stability problem. Some benefit, a repairing buffer basically is made up of just native plants around the area, trees, bushes, shrubs, kind of thing. And basically the repairing buffer, it filters out runoff pollutants, some pollutants. It also decreases sediment load that's going into the creek. It slows down floodwaters and kind of absorbs them, so it lessens the impact of that. And during the dry summer months where there's less flow in the creek, the repairing buffer would actually, it would give water, the stored up water back into the creek, and during wet periods it would absorb that. So like I said, it would come back and lessen the flood impact if there was high intensity rainfall. And of course, cutting back and having roots there that sediment, during high intensity rainfall periods, that the slope would not, the sediment on the slope would not deteriorate and lead to slope stability problems.
Another option that we have is bioremediation, which is basically just using the plant's own enzymes to kill off the contaminants.